Okay, welcome everybody to the meeting today at the CAC. And I'd like to make a couple of announcements. First of all, for our new councilmen or council people, I gotta be woke. I haven't changed from a chairman to a chairperson, so
You are a chairperson, right?
thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I don't know if you know everyone. Ted, I guess.
I know Petter.
Ben Diet is our new councilman, and you're going to back up Ben, or you're both going to be here, whichever. Wonderful.
Yeah.
This will be part of my report.
Oh, okay.
We've restructured
Good.
the liaison function.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay, whatever it is.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, fine. I just had seen it on the website. That's why I said that. But anyway,
I'll
okay.
probably be here most of the time.
Terrific. Terrific. Well, you
That's
know the
great.
water problems, so and the coastal problems that we're having, and I think everybody's aware of it now. That's good. Okay, the
Yes.
first order of business is to approve the minutes of November. So, anybody have any questions?
No, make a motion to approve the November minutes.
Hold on that. 4-0. Okay, so that's good. That's the first step. Now we're ready to start. Okay. First one is applications for wetlands. We have 3 of them tonight, so we'll try to get moving. First one is 10 Cheekwood, which we unfortunately has been around for a while because we were going to do it last time, so we all know what it is anyway. Makes it kind of easy. And I'm going to read my comments first and then move the meeting along a little bit. And then everybody can see if they agree or they don't agree. I think that's going to be the easiest with 3 of them. Wait. Okay. Anybody want to give a description on Zoom on this one? Well, I can go through it quickly. The application. See what we got. Okay. Matt, would you like to go through and give us a brief?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thanks. Good evening, everybody. This project is, we're basically taking the existing building that's there now. It's in a flood zone and it gets flooded on whenever we've got severe tides, either through just tidal action itself or in combination with storms, the property gets flooded. So what they want to do is they want to pick it up and raise it so that it's above the flood zone elevation. We've gotten a ZBA approval for this. That came through the middle of last year. And then we submitted for the wetlands permit basically for the same thing. There have been some minor changes to the plan from what the ZBA approved. Predominantly, those changes are the stormwater control. We had wanted to do a stormwater control for a 4-inch storm. The town code requires we do it for a 2-inch storm, but we wanted to be as aggressive on that stormwater collection as we could. When we had a test boring done in the area that the stormwater control would go, which is in the northeast corner of the property, as far from the wetlands as we can get it. Unfortunately, there is a pocket of clay in that area. Test holes that had been done across the street and just to the west showed predominantly sandy, gravelly soils, which would have been more ideal for getting in a 4-inch storm collection system. But unfortunately, we've got to deal with the corner of the property that we have available to us, which is that clay, which makes us reduce our stormwater collection in that area. So for the majority of the building, we've got to come back down to this town required 2 inches. We just don't have the room to do any more than that. The building ends up, because we're in the flood zone that we're in, we've got to bring the building up so that the lowest horizontal member of the structure of the building is above the flood zone elevation. So that's what we've done. We've brought it up a little bit higher than what the minimum requirement is. hopefully for a couple of reasons. One, hopefully to not have to come back and revisit this in any of our lifetimes, and that the building will be safe and compliant, code compliant for the foreseeable future. That's the primary goal. The secondary goal also is to be able to get parking underneath the building. So rather than just leave the cars in the driveway in front, by raising it a little bit higher than the bare minimum, we're able to have a double benefit to the property owner. And as the committee has mentioned on times, other applications in the past, that the building codes and the FEMA codes, those FEMA regulations, are the bare minimum. So as Billy Banks used to say, the building code is the worst possible way you can legally build a building. So along the same idea here, raising this building a little bit higher than the bare minimum is just a common sense beneficial component to this project. So that's basically where we're at with this. It's from a wetlands perspective, it's fairly simplistic. We're basically picking it up. We're enclosing a covered porch that's on the road side of the property, and we're rebuilding the deck. We're asking to increase that deck a little bit so that it makes it squared off to the building. Whether the planning board will allow us to do that or not, I don't know, but we are asking for that. We've got a couple of new stairways and platforms. One to the west side of the building, which provides access to the electric meter. So we've got to have that because we got to have access to the electric meter. And then the other is for the entrance into the building, which is as landward as we can possibly get on the building for that entry stair. We have it coming down, coming out of the building and then flanking on either side so that it comes down on both sides of the entry. It just makes for a more attractive staircase coming into the building, a more attractive look from the road. And that's basically the project in a nutshell. There's going to be some vegetation put in association with the project, primarily screening the bottom level of the building. It's done in such a way that it's not going to create any type of hazard if flooding does occur and we've got debris floating around in the flooded waters. We don't want real dense vegetation at the base of the building so that it can capture things that are floating around. So the vegetation was designed with that in mind. Other than that, any other questions you guys have, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I was wondering where that email was because you said you were going to send one and you resolved that with the 2-inch rainfall.
Yeah. And you guys should have copies of that. I sent all those in and they came in the end of last week. So hopefully you have copies of those, that new drawing. And also the board had asked for scale copies of some of the building plans. We don't submit the entire building set with the wetlands application because a lot of it just has, it's stuff for the building department that's for New York State Building Code and really muddies the waters in a lot of these applications if we were to provide too much information. But I did provide those other drawings that the board had requested, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys got those.
Yeah, I got one set of those. The problem I have, Matt, is that, the code says we should have 7 original drawings, and there seems to be a misunderstanding, or I misunderstood, but all the time I worked as an engineer for 45 years, and an original drawing was set up by the state education department and the architects on Blue Book, basically, of the state code, the size of drawings. The lettering was 1/8 of an inch and all of that. And we're getting these 11 by 17 drawing, not even 8.5 by 11 drawings that you cannot read at all. And we have to have legible drawings. And the code is that on any submission. I know now we have all the CAD and, you can draw it this size and blow it up and bring it down. But we're out here in the field and, you can look at the drawings. You can't even read the 8.5 by 11s. It's
Now,
just.
which drawings are you referring to? Because I do, like,
Well-
I submit 15 copies of scaled, full-size copies of the site plan and the vegetation plan. And
Right, we
submit-
have those. We have
Okay.
those, man.
Bring
That's
it.
Right,
okay,
okay,
but
good.
there's, the other ones are certain plans, like I asked, and we got one set of that. Which ones I had asked for, because there's references on the plans
Happening in the house.
to those drawings.
This gives you
And we can't see
already
what it is, we don't know what
a
it
full idea how disproportionate
We're
this
looking at
is
the
on
footings, the borings, stuff like that.
plan.
Thank God on this particular job, we have
Beautiful.
a very
Why
competent
don't we,
architect, so
Then there's-
you're happy with that, knowing the wetlands, what the problems
Does this
are,
look-
putting it up on stilts, you know? It's reassuring to me that we have a capable architect. But we cannot, there's no sense to send us small drawings, because as
there's
you
an
know,
elegant way of doing it.
I don't have the CAD set up on my computer where I can measure off things. I use the old-fashioned architectural scale, engineering scale on the full-size scale drawings. That's all I can do. And I don't know if the rest of the committee can, but I don't believe so. So that's why I'm asking that, you know, when the code says, in the code, it says 15 sets original under 129, and that they're submitted. 7 to go to the CAC, and I guess 7 to the planning board, so that I have to work out with the town, I guess. That's what and I appreciate you sending these extra copies, but one
Well,
set.
we'll send you whatever you want. I have no problem printing off 100 copies. It doesn't matter.
No, I don't want 100, we don't have nothing to do with 100. We just
Yeah,
need
the
one
town
set
code-
each. You know,
The town
and-
code says to submit one original and 15 copies of the applications and the documents. It also, I believe, and I'll have to go back and double check this, but I believe it says that they want one full-size copy of building plans and then the rest letter size. So I'm more than willing to give you more than what the code is asking for. That's fine. We've been through this several times. And some people say that we should be submitting more, others are saying we shouldn't. So just let us know. More than happy to give you what you need.
Well, I'm basically on the wetlands side of it, where it says in 129, 15 originals drawings, and it says 7 to go to the CAC. And an original drawing is not an 8.5 by 11, except if it's drawn on 8.5 by 11, then I can read it. But if it's 8.5 by 11, it's not legible. And you're not the only one that's done. We have all the ones tonight. You can see. We cannot see them, but, and you're right, we don't need all the floor plans, except the only plans that we need is if it's referenced to something that's going into the ground. I don't need a floor plan, a living room, dining room. I'm not concerned about that. That's somebody else concerned, the building department concerned. And the insulation levels, we don't need that. But anything that's referenced to what's going to happen on the ground, we need that. So I appreciate you sending that one set. We have it here
Okay.
now. And thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah.
The other items I had on this were quite based on what I had done a while ago. I'm trying to, if we could relocate the new stairs to be underneath the existing footprint. Like I said, I don't have the floor plans that I do now, but to see if that staircase can go in underneath the original footprint, so we're not expanding into the footprint of the existing building staircase. And I think we should take a look at that. First of all, if, you know, like this morning you went out and your staircase is exposed like that, you can't walk down the staircase. Thank God these people are fortunate enough to have an elevator. But it's very dangerous to stay exposed to the weather. It's like a bridge over a roadway. It's going to freeze first before anything else. So if we could tuck that under the building, I think it would be an advantage to us. The second thing is when we raise the building, the AC units and propane tank probably should be put underneath the existing footprint again. Right now, they're at the side yard of the building, and I think it would just be better if we put them underneath. And maybe then we can tie them into the structure. We know this area is going to flood again, maybe not next year, the year after, but it's going to flood. Because the day I was there, the bulkhead was just about underwater. The
Yeah.
whole yacht club was underwater, all their docks were underwater. So it's an area that's going to be wet, and I appreciate the owners going through a lot of expense to raise this building. It's the only thing they can do probably in this area. It's probably going to be the guideline for all the nearshore overlay peninsula projects coming up, because it's happening all over. The last two tides we've had have been extraordinarily high. Down in Montclair Colony, all the docks were covered, you know, and the bulkheads were covered too in some areas. In fact, the one that we're going to do next on 2 Bay Avenue, that dock was completely covered and the water was splashing over the bulkhead. So it's just a matter of time that we consider all these items. The third thing I had was that on this project, the existing bulkhead is actually failing along the, what is that, the south wall? You can see there's holes coming through the ground. It's been patched up a little bit. So there should be some consideration to what to do with that bulkhead. It's an old bulkhead. It's, I think, creosoted. I stuck my head, tried to get under there, take a look. It should be something considered. And the continuation of that bulkhead, which is in the yacht club, was completely underwater. So, you know, we can't raise the bulkheads because then you just flood another area of the island. If you raise it, you're just building up walls around. So that's another thing just to consider. It needs some repair or replacement. The fourth thing I have on the map of the Situate, it should be coordinated with 1 and 2, which I already said. So that's, we don't have to repeat that.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed. What was that last thing?
It was the Situate map. It doesn't show the stairs or anything like that. The small little 11 by 17 plan. It's just we were noted to keep it under the existing footprint, so it was taken care of already. You know, when I noted the staircase should be underneath the existing footprint. Full-size drawings, I got them today, and I gave him my speech on that already, so. I say, I make a note, we did this years ago down on Ram Island, that the concrete be non-leaching type, which is basically a double, almost like what we did for the deer, you know, double wash the corn, you double wash the gravel, and you wash the, it's not made out of RCA, reconstituted concrete aggregate. It's more of a, so it doesn't have all these weird minerals going into the wetlands. So it's a consideration. It's sure it might be more expensive. I don't know. I would think so. Just like double wash corn was for the DSO.
Yeah, and I can certainly bring that up to the design architect. He's done thousands of these
Yes,
projects.
he's
And if that's a feasible alternative, then I'm sure that, you know, he's very agreeable. I'm sure he'll be more than willing to look at it. So
yeah, I mean, you know, it's just something that we should consider because you're going to be polluting the wetlands there, and we're shoreland property. So I'm going to keep that as one of my comments, and I appreciate it. Look at that one. I visited the site. This is a note to, I guess, more to the Heights. I visited the site on 11/27 at 10:30 a.m. and the ferry traffic was around the corner there, and I had to have one car slowly back out so I could get down Cheekwood Avenue. I don't know what's going to happen with trucks coming there and construction. That's a very narrow street up to the ferry. But I think somehow the owners should have their own traffic guards. I don't think the town should be, or be paying for traffic control in that area. The very narrow, and also that the ferry should be coordinated so that we don't have a backup there, and especially if 7 Cheekwood goes at the same time. We had 2 construction projects on that same little road, and then probably in the summer going down to the yacht club. So it's a consideration that I think the town should consider, traffic control in that area, or maybe just the heights control. If they can control it, but I don't think the citizens of Shelter Island should be paying for traffic control, at least for one project. Okay, let's see. I had another thing. Yeah, the last item was about the amount of rain, which you've already taken care of and explained why you cannot have the additional drainage in that property. But the only thing that I say is that the lead is coming down from the building should be increased possibly to take a 4-inch rain. The gutters and the lead that are being lifted up. That was another item I had. Let's see. What is, the last thing was in the item 20 on the wetlands application. What are we doing with all the soil that we're removing to put down those footings? Is it just going to be piled on the site, taken off?
Now, for a site like this, it's as tight as this site is, they're gonna have to have a place to bring it to, because there's really, you got the area up where the stormwater retention is gonna end up being, where those leaching chambers will be installed. We've got some room up there where we can store soil, but we're also gonna be storing construction material in that location. So depending on how much soil ends up coming out, both as part of the construction project for doing the new piers, as well as when we're doing the stormwater control, because we're going to have a decent amount of soil is going to be coming out for that as well. We'll have to bring it off site, and there's a few other storage yards on island and even off island that they can bring them to, but there's some on island locations that they can bring debris from the site and soils from the site.
Yeah, that's what I brought up on the application. Item 20 says how much of the following has been removed to this project, and it has soil 0, sand 0, dredge spoil 0, gravel 0. So I know that's incorrect. It's going to have to be moved. So I think the application should be revised to say for that soil.
When we were first looking at that, we weren't looking at the as much of the stormwater control. And remember that this building now is on a crawl space. So
Exactly.
so there's soil that's going to be going in to fill in parts of that crawl space that will now be flush grade, because rather than having a crawl space foundation, we're going to be on piers. So the amount of soil that's going to be, maybe the best way to say it is we're going to be robbing from Peter to pay Paul in soil, but the soil that we're not able to keep on site and that will have to be brought off site rather than being stored on site to be used to backfill or things along those lines. So and I apologize, I thought that's what you were getting at with the first part of the question, was whether we were going to be storing soils on site. And that's not the case.
You hope to use this soil on site.
Well, it's good, yeah, and I wasn't expecting it. The clay in the test hole caught me by a little bit off guard, caught me by surprise. So with that clay being there, then there may be more soils that are going to have to be brought on site than was first than we'd first anticipated.
Right. Okay. It's just something, that's another reason why I like to have full-size plans, because you see that in the full-size plan that they're putting these pilings down and how they're going to do it. And it's something that to get a complete set of drawings, and I know, and the building department does this, they don't require you to do all the drawings at one time. You go like steps. That is okay for them, but for us, we get questions and we're going to have to, bring up the questions. That's all. And they can be resolved, there's no problem, but it might delay the project a little bit, because if we deny the application, there has to be ramifications of that. So that's another reason why we need full-size drawings of any drawing that refers to the grounds of the earth, something like that. I don't care about the furnishings, the insulation, stuff like that. All right, I think that's the items I had listed. Anybody else have anything special or anything on it?
That's a basic question.
Yes, Ben. Oh, I should answer it. Oh, everybody knows Ben, so that's good. Make sure. Ben is here with us for the first time, so it's a new, and Albert, thank you for coming too. So.
Yes. I mean, I'm a new guy, so it's a very basic question. And I'm not unfamiliar with the project. Because I'm involved in the property next door.
Mhm.
But how high are you raising this house? Is it 8 feet?
I think so, something like that. It's quite a bit.
They're gonna drive underneath it.
Yeah, they're putting the cars underneath it, so it's gonna be up there.
Can't wait to see what, do you have any renderings of what it'll look like when it's done?
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yes, we have all that. That's all been submitted as part of the wetlands application package. It's on the planning board's website. It has renderings of it. We also had, as we went through the ZBA process, because that was one of the things the ZBA had looked at, was how high this building was going to be raised, especially compared to the other buildings around it. A few years ago, the property just to the side of this one, Scott Murphy's property, the one opposite the yacht club, his house went through a very similar type of project. He didn't raise the floor level of his as much, but the peak, the roof height ended up being approximately what we're looking at for this one. So if you look at his house to the side of this one, it'll give you a good idea of the general height that we'd be looking at for the Flower property when this project is all said and done.
Given seawater rise, all the buildings down there are gonna have to be eventually lifted.
Including the yacht club. You know, I mean, it was completely flooded when I was down there the other day. It's a fact of life. I'm sorry, you know, I feel sorry. People are on the water now. They have liabilities, they don't have assets. This is going to be a big problem going down. Anyway, but then I don't know if you got a set of the drawings, but the little set that we got in here shows the elevations and stuff like that to explain that.
I'm just curious, really.
No, that's a good question, a nice question. They're going to put the cars, in fact, they have an elevator going down to the grade too, because us elderly people can't come up those stairs, and especially if it's raining and cold out and the icy steps, there's no way you can get the salt on them, you know. So, but they've thought about it. I think it's a good job, and we don't have anything else. Why don't we vote on this one? I mean,
it is what it is, you know.
that's what I say. I say we should, my opinion is that, for my sake, that we should approve this application. Go ahead. I mean, I can't see anything else they can do on it. So let's take a vote on that. What happened to Roz?
I'm right here. All right, pen. Okay, there we are. Okay, yes, I'm here to vote.
Make a motion that we approve this application as it is with the notes that I have included, be included in that. Vote on that? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, 5-0. Very good, that was nice. Don't worry, Christine, I'll give you my load too. Catherine, with my sister.
Underline, put things in red.
Okay, the next one I have is Stitch, which is 58 Westmoreland Drive. Now, this is a here's another cool, yeah.
Noxious.
Agree.
Okay. Again, Matt, this is probably you, all of them are Matt.
They're all Matt.
But yeah, this one's mine as well. I'm like a rash that just won't go away.
You're on every one of them, so you might as well Okay, could you just give us a brief description of it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This project, the couple of different things going on here. One is when the original septic was installed, they ended up installing a tennis court over top of it. Property recently sold, and the new property owners don't want the tennis court. They're taking it out. They want to put in, take out the existing septic system, put in an IA septic system in its place. There's also a swimming pool on the road side of the house. The house is like in a U-shaped configuration. And in the middle of the U, there's the existing swimming pool. What they want to do is get rid of that swimming pool, put a new swimming pool on the water side of the property, put in automatic cover on that swimming pool, all the typical bells and whistles that we look for on a swimming pool in this kind of situation, a cartridge filter, salt cell disinfection, all those kinds of things. This is a relatively simplistic application as far as wetlands is concerned, because that's all that's involved in this one is the swimming pool, the removal of the tennis court, removal of the existing septic system, and the installation of the new IA septic system. The well is on the road side of the property, so we don't have to worry about it. There is some stormwater containment already on site. We'd be looking to maintain that. At some point in the future, the property owner may look to do some other things, and I've explained to them if they're doing any changes to the building that would require, increase in building size, that even if they're outside of the regulated wetlands area, so they wouldn't have to come back for a wetlands permit. Any other type of work like that in the future would require additional stormwater control and some other building code mitigations as opposed to wetlands permit mitigations. But that's basically the gist of this application is the switching of the swimming pools, removing of the tennis court, and then the swapping of the septic to the IA system.
Okay. I was down at this site, and I'll go from my notes again. The extend the non-turf buffer over to the ramp out to the dock. Right now is an opening there that opens right onto the beach, which is kind of nice, but it won't stop the runoff from the property. So if you bring that over to the dock, it's about 15-foot extension of the non-turf buffer. It will stop the runoff from going into the bay, West Neck Bay. It's just a small little piece up top. I think that would be an advantage to us to have that to stop the runoff. And then I looked at the pool, and I had some ideas. I don't like to go into the 100-foot mark between the 100 and the 75 if we don't have to, and that's actually stated in the 129 to try to stay out of that area if you can, and give reasons or plans, show plans why that couldn't be done. And I took my little scale because this drawing was to scale so I could do it. And I could see that if I turned the pool around and had the deep end towards the leaching field and slightly moved it at a slight angle or even decreased the patio slightly, I would be out of that 100-foot and wouldn't have to worry about anything. Like, really comply with the code fully. I think that's something maybe the architect would like to take a look at and see if he could do that. It's a small adjustment.
We had looked at shifting the pool over to get it out of the wetlands setback. The only problem, got to stay 20 feet away from the septic system. So we could move it a little bit, but we can't move it enough to get it completely out.
Well, then I would reverse the depth of the pool. So the deep part is out of the 100-foot. And the shallow part of the pool is in the 100-foot. That gives us more land to filter our impurities out before we hit the bay. So I would look at reversing the direction of the pool on that to assist that, but I didn't see any plans showing what the problems were. I understand to stay away from the leaching field somewhat, and I would just suggest that they look at that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I can talk to them about that, yeah.
The third one is vegetation plan. I didn't get a vegetation plan, I don't believe.
Yeah, you did. It's on that plan that you saw that you talked about has turf grass on it. Our vegetation
Yeah,
plan.
that,
for
you're
this
talking
project
about
is
that, that's the surf plan here? The
Yeah, we want to
vegetation-
keep it the way it is. It's, we've got
Okay,
there's a
it
good
says-
substantial vegetated, non-turf buffer. It's doing its job. It's doing a good job, we think, and so that we're proposing to keep it as is.
Okay, I agree with that. It's just that one item to bring over the buffer, so it closes that beach area, so we don't run off. That's it. So that is our vegetation plan, which is sufficient, there's no problem. The last item is, because this is over an acre, you have to submit a stormwater pollution prevention plan, that's WPPP.
No, that's
As-
not correct. That's not correct. A stormwater pollution prevention plan is required when the disturbance is over an acre, not the property. If this was a vacant property and we were clearing the whole property and clearing an acre or more, absolutely, you'd be 100% correct. But it's the amount of disturbance is what the trigger is. Or the other trigger would be if you've got a project that has an increased chance of creating runoff into an MS4, which is a municipal
not
storm
here.
sewer system.
Right.
So either one of those two things would be the triggers, and neither of those are in play here.
Well, I don't know, the disturbance with the wells and all of that, whether that would come up to.
Yeah, no,
This is
that's
not-
right about that.
It's not enough to disturb. I understand the acre part of it, because I took the course 4 years ago, so.
Right.
All right, so that takes care of that. Looked at that and it was settled. Okay, so this is a fairly easy one to approve, or disapprove, depending on what we do. There are just two items: to extend the buffer and to try to switch that pool around so the deep end is there.
I mean, I think they could do something with the deck up, the upper deck, and get the whole thing back out of the.
100 foot, I think
I mean, it's only 16 feet you're talking about, so.
it's not a big pool. It's, I think it should be looked at in some way, that they
Right.
submit something on that. All right, anybody else have anything else besides that?
This is one of those where I don't understand how they read the code.
Okay, I could explain
I
that.
mean, the explanation, the house location prohibits the project from being on the water side of the house and outside the adjacent regulated area. If I don't have room, I can't build there. What do we otherwise have this area? They have a pool on the other side. If they
Yes, they
don't
have.
like it,
It shouldn't
there's
have
no
gone
room
to us.
for a pool here, according to how I read, but apparently they all read the code differently.
Well, it's not reading the code differently. It's sort of to make the code fit their desires.
Yeah,
And
well,
is that what we should be doing here?
No, and that's why I brought up to get this out of
I
the
mean,
way.
if they want to build, if they have to have a pool on the water side, yeah, they have to go in that buffer. You not just need to take a measuring tape.
Yeah, they could
But
do
since
it.
we have the buffer, the pool doesn't fit, period. The pool, you can't put your pool into the side offsets either.
Mm,
And this
exactly.
one, they read differently. The 25 feet don't matter. If it doesn't fit the plan, then we ignore them. If it fits the plan, fine. I'm not sure whether, I mean, what are we even doing here?
Well, that's exactly the way I feel too. I was saying that to Paulette. If we're going to have codes, people should have to comply with them. Otherwise, what is the point of all of this?
Well,
I mean, if we have to modify a code, fine, but in this case, we have them, we should be following them.
Oh, the code's got to be rewritten so it's clear.
Yeah, but
It's-
we're not
it's
gonna
not-
rewrite the code. That's
But is it,
One contradicts the other one, the wetlands contradicts.
Well,
what does it contradict? And why would it not be that if we have two parts of the code that contradict one another?
That has to be fixed.
Why can't we fix it?
That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So,
but in the meantime, what we have to do is, the code
Well-
says, apply for a permit. If we want to deny the permit, we can deny it.
Yeah. And if,
There's no problem with that if we vote to deny it. I just think that they could rework this a little, maybe make the pool at an angle slightly. It doesn't,
But is
that you
that-
don't see it from an
is
airplane.
that what we should be doing, is help the homeowner rework their plans so that they can get what they want? I mean, aren't we supposed to be looking at the code to see if the plans fit the code? And if they don't, isn't that someone else's responsibility to rework?
Well, I mean, if we can help them, I don't have an objection to that.
Right.
What I have an objection to is to rubber stamp something that's, I want it, I get it.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
the people who are approving it
Well, if you,
Yeah.
are less interested in the code than in the appeal that they have to.
Yeah.
the one-
if you re-help
I agree.
them to do what the code says, then fine. You're helping them. They're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. We're telling them, giving them an idea of what they could do so they can do what they want to do if they follow the code.
And there are clear differences. If the prior one, if the alternative is to lose your house or raise it, then obviously we need to work with that. But if
Right.
it's a vanity project, I don't like my pool on one side and I put it in the buffer on the other, they lost me.
Me too. Me too.
Lost.
And we said that when we looked at it as well.
Okay, you take a vote on it, that's.
well, I mean, like the patio could go underneath the second story deck too. The whole thing could be moved back to 16.
It could be, but that's one of the things. But I think what we're saying, Roxanne, Paulette, is that we shouldn't even be discussing that. It should have been laid out, missing that, except that the code says you can get a permit.
Right.
Well, we denied a permit, that's all. I mean, let somebody else worry about it. This has happened before, and in the next project, it's going to really show up. But I would say that the owner should look at it and see what they can do about it and then come back. So my thing is, I think we should just say what I said here, is to relocate somehow the pool, so move it to the west and the deep part and that, to avoid the 100-foot. And do that buffer, and with those two,
Right.
we would accept
Right.
the application. Is that all right with it?
Yeah. Well,
Take a vote on that, so what we're gonna do is take a vote that that the owner look at taking the pool out of the 100-foot, reversing the pool, which seems feasible.
Right.
There's no problem with that. So we are gonna ask for that. So the drawing as shown is denied.
Yes.
We'll do it that way. And they can do, and with the buffer being extended, it's also part of that. So there's two items, the pool in the 100-foot be eliminated, and that the buffer be extended.
Yes.
Take a vote on that?
All in favor? Aye. That's right. That is exactly what we think. And do, yeah.
Okay, so that's where we.
Even our non-members agree.
5-0, denied the application. Okay, the next one.
We also put down, would accept it if it was, those conditions were met.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah, we
clear.
can say that,
That
sure.
was clear.
Well, that's the only.
Those are
two
the
items
only,
that we
those
have.
are the two items.
It's a nice project. People with bees off, they got all the flags there, all the silver hanging around. So, I mean, I think that's better. I'll just put this away before I lose it. The next item, we've done 2 years ago, this project. Again, it's Matt. We have a quick summary of that.
Oh, yes.
Yep, absolutely. This is kind of a scaled down version of what you guys saw a couple of years ago. There was a previous owner who'd had it a few years ago. They had obtained the permits, but for whatever reason decided to move on to a different property. So when the current owners purchased the property, they decided to keep the overall area of the existing house as fairly consistent with what it is now. One of the key parts of that previous application that was approved is also in this application, which is the screen room that's on the water side of the house. It doesn't have a full proper foundation underneath it, so they're going to be putting a full foundation underneath that. Same thing as for the previous application, they're looking to put in a swimming pool and patio, which is within the regulated area, over 75 feet from the wetlands and less than 100 feet from the wetlands. And for this one, they've got an accessory building that's going to have water and sanitary services also within that adjacent regulated area. And that accessory building is a pool house or a cabana. It doesn't have sleeping quarters in it. It's, for lack of a better term, it's an open little structure. So more of just a support building for the swimming pool, outdoor kitchen, barbecue area kind of thing with a bathroom. So as with the previous approval on this one, they had approval from the health department for removing the existing septic system and installing a new IA system that's outside of the 100-foot setback. Going to be incorporating stormwater control, roof runoff into dry wells, removing the asphalt driveway, replacing it with gravel, a few other things along those lines. The project is basically, as I'd said when I first started describing it, it's a scaled down version of what was previously approved in the last go around with the town. In the last go around, there was a ZBA was required because they were encroaching on zoning setbacks as well as town wetlands because of encroaching into the regulated area. This application does not have any ZBA encroachments, so it's only some town wetlands issues that we've got to deal with.
This project is pretty interesting. It's probably the only project that has all town subcontractors. The landscaper, main contractor, which is Eklund Reisch, and then Bobby Marcello doing concrete work. The landscaper is Liberty. So it's a nice neighborhood project. The only thing is, I would say deny it because it's already been done before we even looked at the application. All the work on the application for us to look at the removal of the under the porch and everything, that's finished. It was done this last week. After, when I went there to 1-1, it's all finished already. They excavated underneath the porch. They took out for the stairs. They took walls out, which is not on the permit that they're working on. The permit they're working on is just for the shell of the building, not for excavation in the wetlands, 75. And the plans, so I wasn't even going to look at this, just rejected on that. I talked to the town. They were supposed to go down and take a look. We had about a month ago, there was so much rubbish on that site that they had to come back and clean it. There's very little supervision at that site.
So they did this without a permit?
They did it without a permit. I was just talking to James Eklund about it, and he said, no, the permit is there. So there's a discrepancy between what I see written on the permit, which is on this shed, and what is being done. And I talked to the town building department, and they indicated to me that it was as I interpreted it. But so far, they're still working there. They haven't been stopped. They're working today. So I don't
Who did you talk
understand.
to at the town, Howard? If I could interject real quick.
Yeah,
Who did you
sure.
talk to at the town?
Yes. Yes. What?
Howard, who at the town did you talk to?
I talked to Reed and I talked to Brett. Brett was gonna take a walk down there. I don't know. Those are the two. So,
Because I've spoken with Reed about this project as well. And my understanding, and you've got more current information on it than I may have, but my understanding of it is that the excavation underneath the screen room is not,
Yes.
does not require a wetlands permit and is not part of the wetlands application in front of the board, in front of your committee or the planning board. Same thing for the interior work inside the house, work on the roof, things along those lines do not require wetlands permits by the town's reading of the wetlands code, not our reading of the wetlands code, the town's reading of it. And that the items that do require wetlands approval, again, from the town's perspective, not ours, are things like the swimming pool, the patio, the pool cabana, some of the new stairs or replacement, existing concrete walkways and things that may be going away, the removal of the asphalt driveway, those things require a wetlands permit. So that's what we're applying for. And if you don't want to discuss it because of that, I think that you'd be doing the planning board a disservice, I believe, because, having your take on this application and suggestions for ways to make it better, I think can result in a better project. But if you choose not to discuss it because of what's occurring and what your discussion was with the building department, then so be it. But I would like to see the CAC discuss it.
we are discussing it. I mentioned that I wasn't going to discuss it originally because it was a violation of the code, which is both a criminal and a civil offense, finable by $25,000, an excavation in the 75-foot, which excavating under a building in the 75-foot. And then if you look at the plans for the footings of that they're going to pour the wall, they extend outside of the limit of the building right now, because it's like a square thing that the pile is sitting on, and half of that square is outside the building line now. They removed the concrete steps, or patio walk rather, already. So that's been done, and that's all in the wetlands application. That's not in the building, that's posted on the wall. And the last item, but I'm going to discuss the rest of it though. But the last item is that it's scheduled for a hearing on the 16th, and there's no signs up on the site as of today, which is the 8th. And that it's supposed to be, the law says 10 days. And that would make it the 28th, the 18th. And the notice in the paper says it's a hearing on the 16th. So I don't know how the planning board is going to do that, because it's against the law.
Well, I think I've got photos of the poster going up there as well as at Stitch on the 4th. So I'll have them double check to make sure that the poster's still up. It may have blown down.
Stitch I didn't go over to today, but I walked past this site because I live in the neighborhood. I walk all the time. And there were no signs at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
And I just got confirmation that there were signs on the property on Sunday, yesterday, so they may have blown down. We'll have them put back up. I've got someone who works for me who goes by every couple of days to make sure the signs are up, and we'll have them put back up.
There's somebody's saying something, they're supposed to be on both Bay Avenue and on Simpson. A sign, there's no signs there, there's no posters, there were none up there Sunday.
But there is a Stitch, but there is not a Bay. Right.
I said that, so I heard.
Correct.
So that's a code item. I mean, that's right in the code for the permit application, that for the hearing and stuff like that. So, all right. But anyway, I'd like to discuss the project a little bit anyway, because we had several items last time, which before the planning board was given the right or the authority to review it, it was the town board. And I had the same things on this one. I like that they changed the pool depth to 4 foot, which is good, instead of 8 foot from the original. And they have the automatic pool cover, so that's a good item. And they have the septic system. Okay, but 2 years ago, we addressed, the CAC gave the notes for relocating the propane tank out of the 100-foot. And it's still in there now, and I would think we would still want to keep it out of the 100-foot. Some way to work it out into the front of the yard or something there, or underneath the new driveway. It's a tight piece of property, I understand that. It's all in the near shore overlay. But there are items that we should correct in that area. We'd still allow the owner to do what he would want to do. I mean, we never approved, in fact, we never got a plan on the cabana, or there's a sketch, penciled in sketch of what it's going to look like. There's no basement plan shown or anything. That the plans I got, Matt, I don't know if you have different plans, but all I have is proposed pool plan, which is, like I said, they cut it down to 4 feet deep, which is good. We still have a lot of area between, about 6 feet between the bottom of the pool and the ground. But there are no plans indicating the basement below the pool cabana. I see it all. I don't know, do you have those? Like I said, we get an awful lot of these 8.5 by 11s that are very hard to read. I didn't see any.
Yeah, no, there was not a full basement plan put in for the pool house. No, there was not.
And cabana, no, there isn't any of that. There's a little sketch, which is, it even says scheme D, I think it says, proposed pool house. But there's no wrenches, there's a stairway down to the pool equipment below. So there's nothing in the plans on that.
Okay, yeah, we can get that.
Okay.
So the pool equipment will be in the basement of the cabana?
Yeah, that's correct.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it states. It doesn't show that. There is no basement there. They have plenty of room. I know the reason I know there's enough room, I was originally going to have them move the test well to where the excavation was. But since they already excavated against the code in the submission, they're down to they can go down 6 to 7 feet and they won't hit water. So no problem with the basement there.
Right. Well, it's good to have the pool equipment in that basement anyway. I mean, that's a common thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gets it out of sight and,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I think overall it's a big improvement from the last time we looked at the whole thing. I mean,
Yeah, there is.
I think you've done as much as you can do with the property
Yes.
and not,
I mean, the person, well, as you know, and there was another statement that I made that, we made the last time, that it's the third owner. And all the plans show first original seller.
Mm.
And we said, we would like to have it updated to be the seller now. So the plans going to the DEC and the health department all have the seller that we have now, not a previous one that was submitted right now. And plus, the house across the street has been renovated since those original plans.
right?
So there could be some ramifications on it. Plus, there's a 3-page letter from the health department on all the variances to accept the well where they're putting it. It's a whole 3-page letter. So I don't know how long to be able to have potable water. They'll have to put in some treatment on that. But I mean, I have the letter here, it's a 3-page.
Hey, Howard, can I stop you real quick? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you guys are getting the information that we're submitting to you.
Okay.
Because
Fine.
with the application package, I submitted 15 copies of the health department permit in the current owner's name. So if you're getting a permit from the health department in a previous owner's name, that there's no possible way that should occur. Same thing with the landscape plan, that's in the current owner's name. The proposed site plan is in the current owner's name. The architectural plans that have been submitted are in the current owner's name. So I'm not quite sure what you're looking at when you're saying these were from a previous owner. That just doesn't, either I'm
Okay.
missing something or something's not being communicated properly with your committee.
Okay. I open up the plan that I have, which is C11, denial site plan. And it says the property of Michael, 2 Bay
Right, that's the
Avenue,
current owner,
which is the present owner,
right?
but the site plan is based on by Michael Hemmer, landscape PC dated 3/27/17. Now that's 7 years ago. He did that for Andrew.
Oh, I understand where you're going. Okay, yeah.
All I want to get is the present owner, so you have a backtrack. You know,
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. So we don't have the plan as stated. I'm just reading the plan unless you.
yeah, okay. There's some confusion as to when we put together a plan, we reference the survey that
Of course.
was used to create the plan. That was Mike Hemmer's survey that was used to create the plan. Whether it's 20 minutes old or 20 years old, if it's an accurate survey, it's an accurate survey. So that's what we use. So that's where the confusion is. Okay, I'll step back on that one then.
Yeah, I think the application should be updated to the present owner and maybe just Michael, Maya, which was the previous one, but not go back 3 owners. Yes?
No, nothing, no, sorry.
So that was one of my things, submit updated site plan. Since the most recent is 8/29/18. Things change. In fact, on the present plan, if you look at it, there was a thing I looked at and I said, well, first of all, let me finish this up as I have. The other one was install a wire back silt fence as indicated on the new site plan. The silt fence that's installed is not as indicated on the site plan. It's much closer to the building, which I'm happy about, but now there's soil backed up against it. It's a discrepancy between what was submitted and what was installed. Let's see. There's on the site plan, there's a note. If you look on the original site plan, right next to Bay Avenue, there's a note that says proposed roof next to the dry well by the test hole, Matt. Do you have that?
I'm looking at it right now. Hold on a second.
What is the proposed roof by the dry well? I don't understand that.
Roof dry well. Those are dry wells for the roof runoff.
Is that for the cabana?
That's what Cabana and
Those
those.
are to the north. That's in where the existing asphalt driveway is now, and there will be a gravel driveway going in. Those are
Yes.
dry wells. Those are proposed dry wells to capture runoff from the roof. Maybe
Okay,
I should have written it more explicitly. I'll write it out next time.
but the one by Bay Avenue, what is that?
Hold on.
Is that a roof? You have the
Oh,
swimming
there's
pool?
two- yeah, you see, there's 2 of them that are closer to the swimming pool, where
Yeah,
it
that's what
says
it's
dry
for.
wells proposed swimming pool. And
Right,
then there's one for proposed roof. So that proposed roof that's over there is gonna
It's
get.
for the
moved up,
cabana.
for the cabana. Yeah,
okay. So that, thank you.
yeah.
Let's see. Once we get the Cabana plan, we'll understand that a little bit better.
And again, did you not get the full-size sketch of the cabana plan? I know that it doesn't have the foundation. I understand
I
that.
get.
But did you not get the full-size sketch of that with the other drawings I sent?
Oh, I just was handed these at 7 o'clock, so I'm sorry about that.
Okay, no worries, that's fine. I just want to make sure you got it because we submitted it.
Take a look,
Yeah.
take a look. And again, it was only one set that would have to. We got F1, which is the foundation, which shows that wall that's supposed to be excavated. A1, which is a proposed first floor. And an A4. Unfortunately, wait a second. A2, which is proposed second floor, like I said, I'm not concerned about that, that's somebody else's problem, building department. I don't have anything else.
There should have been a tabloid size 11 by 17 size page. I think it was for the pool cabana.
That's a little sketch, there's no basement on that, that's the one we talked about.
Yes, still, we don't have the basement sketch yet. We will be getting that for you. You said that you didn't have a drawing for the pool cabana to understand how the roof would work
Right.
with the runoff. That's
No,
why I
that-
wanted to make sure you got a copy of that drawing, which shows the elevations and the layout of how the roof is designed.
Okay, but how do I get from the roof to the dry well? Can it show that or
Are
not?
you,
I don't see any problem with it, but
are you really
know.
asking me to draw the piping in from the roof to the dry well? Because I'll do
Well,
it, that's
from the-
fine. I have no problem doing that.
no,
But
from the downspouts, well, no, you're right. I shouldn't be involved with that roof drainage.
okay,
You're right. I need a basement plan though for that, which we don't have.
yeah, that's not a problem. We'll get that to you.
Okay. Let's see. Again, the silt fences, I like the way it is now, except that the piles of earth, which I think is against the proposed plan for the wetlands, is right against the silt fence. So I don't know if you're going to change the site plan, showing where the silt fence is, or you're going to change the way it's installed, but it's an incorrect. Okay, so I took out the proposed roof indicated, okay. So the basement, we got that.
That's the size.
Now, there's one thing that I don't know. Hedda, the landscape plan done by Walter Richards, he shows a crepe myrtle in the area of the septic system. I didn't think we wanted any plant trees growing in there.
If it's over where the chambers are, I mean, the leaching galleys,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be a good idea. It could be near the tank.
you see what he has here on his full size, he's right by the leaching field. He doesn't show the leaching fields on his, which shouldn't have to. But you see where the leaching fields are?
Yeah,
Or one there. He's got a crepe myrtle
right.
right in the center of them.
Yeah,
So-
that's not a good idea.
No, I would,
Yeah,
because,
just leave that open. Maybe bring it more towards the property corner or something.
yeah, he could bring,
Where the expansion things are gonna be.
way up there, some,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ones that haven't.
Right.
Putting it.
And as long as he doesn't show it, but in the town property there, it's trees planted by the Green Options Committee, we don't want them to be damaged. So I would say that you should look at the site plan for the vegetation and relocate the crepe myrtle on one side.
I mean, he just has 5 feet. I mean, that septic system just fits in. That's,
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be able to plant it at all, you know.
yeah, I don't know. 5 feet from the property line, 10 feet from the house, so
Property line.
it's close.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell the truth. But he actually has the leaching field, the crepe myrtle planted right in the center of the leaching field. And I know from my experience, the roots do not help, even though they like the nitrate, it's still about plants. Oh, what do you think?
Well, I mean, he could do it, it's just not a good idea, you know?
Right.
It'd be his problem if he does it, that's all.
I mean, we know what happens at
You
these.
shouldn't drive through salt water with a car, but people do it.
And I heard there was one down on Simpson. Somebody went into the water. But, anyway, I think we just take a look at that crepe myrtle, Matt, have Walter Richards take a look at it.
Yeah,
I'm
we
sure.
will. We can move it. That septic has got, the way that it's laid out there, you know, if you're going a little bit closer to the shed and a little bit closer to Simpson Avenue, we could put it up there so that it clears those galleys. If I had my preference, everyone would just plant tomatoes over top of those leaching galleys and everybody would be happy. But yeah, we can adjust that crepe myrtle so it doesn't create a problem.
Yeah, okay, it's just a, I know we did that on another property, so. And that was it on that, so I am still objecting wholly to what is going on at that site.
I mean, the footings have to go where they have to go, you know, if it's outside the wall a little bit, you know, 6 inches. It's the width of the footing,
I don't,
you know what I mean? It's gotta be
I
bigger than.
know what
the
you're
wall.
saying,
It can't be just, you know,
it can't,
it's got,
it should be centered on the footing. And if you,
well, I mean, it's gonna expand beyond the wall, that's the whole idea of a footing.
right, but can you do it with just one side expansion inward?
No, it needs to be on both sides.
Both sides?
I mean, we're talking 6
So
inches.
then they're violating the code by extending.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not,
A big deal.
yeah, it needs to be done for the structure.
Yeah, well, why does it have to be?
Yeah, but one
It's
more
already
time,
dug up, right?
It's code.
That's what I'm saying.
Doesn't matter.
yeah, please.
Creating existing conditions. We had, while I was living in the city, the school next to us, one of the fancy schools, overnight, literally ripped down half a block.
Right.
And then they started building. They had enough backing apparently in the city.
Well, I mean, here, I mean, if that was the case, they could, you know, come in a little bit, lose a little bit of the,
Ever since. I mean, this is like,
They could, the original, when we saw this 2 years ago,
right.
they thought that that wall went all the way down. And I said, I've been in that basement, that wall doesn't go all the way down. But it was approved 2 years ago.
Right.
But the plan for the footings was not shown it. And now the footing, see if it's on the plan. And I understand what you're saying.
At this point, you want it to be done properly.
You want it to be done properly, but you could also redo the floor on top so it's, the footing could be inside a little bit. You dug out the whole thing, yeah. Again, I don't want to get into the internal
The
construction.
wall's still in the same place, the upper wall. So it's
The
below
upper
grade.
wall is the same, but you see how it extends the footing?
Yeah.
And I understand
That's all
that
very-
construction, but that's in violation into 75 foot, no expansion into that area.
Yeah. Well,
So I think a structural engineer could probably do something so it doesn't go into that area. But I'm not sure of that. I'm electrical.
Isn't Matt the structural engineer?
No,
Oh, no. Okay.
No, I'm not the engineer on this project. The,
Oh, you're not, okay.
no, he's not the structural engineer. You're a civil engineer, right, Matt?
Yeah.
That's
And I
all.
do, stuff too. I do stuff like this. It's not a big deal, this kind of stuff. But predominantly civil, yeah.
Okay.
They should have somebody take a look at that. I don't think it's a big problem to change that a little bit. You can see all their footings are the same. It's almost like the CAD system has that detail, you know? It doesn't have a dimension on it. So let's see what it says. It does have a dimension, I'm
Is it
sorry.
an 8-inch wall, Matt, or is it a 10-inch wall?
Well, it's right here on the.
It's, the footing itself is 1 foot 10 inches and the wall is a, I think it's an
10
8-inch wide wall.
I think it's 10-inch on a detail.
Yes, it's one.
10, yeah, let me measure it out here.
Yeah. Well, the detail says 3, 4, 3. So that's a 10-inch wall going down.
Yeah.
So it
And Pam
extends.
Pospisil is the architect on this project, and she's the one who stamped the plans. I don't know if
Right.
she does her own detailing like that, or if she brings somebody else in to detail it. But as Howard just said, this foundation and footing detail is a very, very standard, generic, run-of-the-mill, nothing fancy
Right.
detail. This, it's, look at what it's supporting. This isn't something that needs to specifically be engineered. It's been engineered a million times over.
Right, and I don't think it's really required for this, but that's not I'm not a structural engineer. I don't know if Pam is, maybe a partner is, but it's just something that we're talking about extending into the wetlands of 75 foot. That's when it becomes a problem, and I think they could probably design that, even pull the whole wall in and down, since they dug it all out already. It doesn't have to be right on the edge of the structure there. They could probably extend the top a little or something, I don't know. I don't want to get into the structural like this. Oh, it's not our big job, it's not our project. So that's the one there. That takes care of Myers. Okay, let's see what I got on that one.
So have you summarized on this one?
Right. I'm sorry, Michael. Okay, my summary is, the first thing I said was to deny the wetlands permit, since the work indicated on the Shelter Island notice of disapproval dated 12/4/2023 has already been done without a valid permit. Then I said, some of the items addressed 2 years ago have been submitted, and I put down pool depth 4 foot, which was a good idea. So you don't need a deep pool. Automatic pool cover. And then I had the comments about the ownership, that should be some notation that it's a new owner. It was all done 2 years ago. Relocation of the propane tank should be out of the 100-foot. We don't want that propane tank in there. It's a 1,000-gallon tank. It's a big tank. Submit updated site plan more recent than 8/29/18, which will then probably correct the location of silt fence. And then install wire silt fence as indicated, shown on the site plan. Submit basement plans for pool house and relocate crepe metal off of the clear of the septic system. So that's the items I say.
Okay.
Take a vote on it. Did we?
I mean, I personally, I think they've done a great job with this. I think they've, laid out everything really well for the, pre-existing house and all that. I don't see how you could do any better than they've done. So, I mean, I think it's as good as it's going to get, but just my opinion.
Okay, that's good opinion. You expect it. So I take a vote. Who says deny this application based on the items that we have? Take a vote. 4, and 1 denial.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay. You don't think that doing the plans, doing the work without,
Well, no, that's the building department's thing, I mean, I don't know what that's all about, but I mean, as far as how they're showing this project to be done, I think it's.
all right, yeah, I do, but the other items we have to consider that they shouldn't go into the 75. It's one thing to do the best you can, but,
Yeah, I mean, it is a pre-existing structure. I mean,
completely renovated, completely. The new roof, everything, new windows, new
I mean,
sign.
the building's staying there though, right? The frame?
Yeah, what I could see. I don't know. I don't have those.
Yeah, that's correct. The lion's share of the building is remaining, yes.
Yeah, I think the studs are the good and everything. That's an old house. I mean, they're probably better than they build them today. I mean, that's when a 2x4 was a 2x4,
Right.
and stuff like that. So, all right. So it's 4 to deny and 1 to allow.
Yeah, I think it's,
4-0.
I mean, as far as them, jumping the project, that's not our job to police that. That's the building department's, I think,
Right.
that's what happened.
It happens. So I'll deny it based on that happening because I've been down there and I saw it.
Right.
Everybody agrees that that work has been done before approval. So it's 4 to deny, 1 to approve, 1 to accept. Okay, that's it. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you
Good
for all the
job.
discussions. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Anybody else on the Zoom, Pam or Lori? Amber? Amber was in here before.
Oh, she's still appearing.
Pam has her hand up.
She
Oh,
has a hand up. Oh,
Yes, yes.
Pam, okay.
I-
Sorry,
I
Pam.
do, Howard. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year to you all. I just want to discuss two things about this Bay Avenue project. One
Yes.
is that it actually is in a FEMA flood zone, and that hasn't been taken into consideration as in relation to Chapter 60 of our town code, that when it's in a flood zone, it's a type 1 action. I think that's part of your purview. And the other thing that hasn't been discussed is this pool cabana that has a sanitary system, which is in contradiction to Town Code 133-12F3, which is the nearshore overlay district where buildings with sanitary systems can't be built within the 100 feet. So those are
You're
two major
correct,
points
Bob.
on this that have not been addressed.
Okay, maybe we should add that in. that-
Well, it's hooked up to the approved sanitary system, so.
But it's.
They gotta get the codes.
It vi- it
I have to make
violates-
the code,
It violates the zoning code, which is 133, I think Pam. is-
133 and 129,
Yeah,
they're in conflict.
Yeah, they're in conflict.
133 F3 has no
100
buildings,
feet.
no structures, no septic systems in the 100-foot area.
exactly.
well, you can't have a septic system constructed in the 100-foot area.
You can't have the
But it
septic.
also says buildings and structures.
But that shouldn't be in there then if you're allowing things to happen in the 75 to 100. That's where the code conflicts itself.
Well, I don't think it conflicts, I think it's,
It's a question of interpretation.
Well, yeah, but you can't have two different things,
well, I think the
I'm sorry,
first.
can I just say this? I'd like to say it's a question of enforcement. The zoning code says buildings and structures, including wastewater disposal systems and sanitary systems, shall be located at least 100 feet from the landward edge of a tidal or freshwater wetland. This is the code.
right.
Why
and it
this
is.
part of the code has not been put into the wetlands code when the wetlands code was revised is beyond me. But this is the code in the nearshore overlay district, which is where this property lies.
Right, but the septic system is outside of the 100-foot.
The septic is outside.
Yes,
Septic,
Right,
building.
you're right.
right.
But it says that the buildings and structures shall be located outside of.
The pool house, they're all in the 100-foot.
And
area.
all
yeah.
in the-
So is half the houses down there.
So the whole house.
Well, the house is non-conforming, so you can renovate, in my mind, you could renovate.
Yeah, but as
the
long as the septic system's outside of the 100 feet, the house is already there. You know?
Yeah.
But this is a new structure going in. This is a new
That's-
structure they're proposing with this pool cabana. So, I mean, I can understand what you're talking about, a non-conforming
Right, but it's-
pre-existing house, but this is a new structure
But
with
it
a
is
pool
inside
cabana,
the 75 to 100.
but it's not supposed to be.
In the
It's a
100.
building and structure that should be located at least 100 feet from the wetlands, which is according to 133-12F3.
Yeah, I
This-
agree with. Pam,
This
but-
was actually taken up with the zoning board a while back on a project, and the zoning board rejected an application for the same reason. So I don't know
Right.
what committee is going to take 133-12F3 to heart and take it to code and make sure that it's applicable to projects such as this. That's my biggest concern, and I thank you for your time.
Appreciate that, Pam.
Get it clarified.
Pam.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yes.
When I look at the code, because our island has so many different properties around, and I can't see really penalizing a person who has an existing house in the near shore when they had the house built before 2000, when that code was applied.
But Howard, the 75 foot is a Shelter Island thing. Between 75.
actually a
The
DEC.
DEC is up to 75. After that, it's Shelter Island thing.
Exactly.
So if Shelter Island doesn't explicitly say what you can do in that area, like, yeah, you can't build a building, or, you know, we know you can't have a septic system. The Board of Health won't let you do that. But they say you can do it with a permit, right?
That's the 129, but 133
Then they
says,
got to get them so they both say the same thing. You
Yeah.
either can or you can't.
Yeah, but you can also look at the 129 and not forget about the 130. And my impression is the people, a lot of the authorities that are involved in this, their interest is not the town, their interest is to a client.
Right,
They're trying to sell to people who want to build.
right.
Well, if that's how it's supposed to be, fine. But
But it should be written so that if there's no other alternative, then that could be a consideration.
right.
so
But-
we
But if
actually,
there's another alternative, like if there's 500 feet of land between there and the bay, and the bay, then there's an alternative.
but
And it shouldn't be allowed.
shouldn't any agency on the island, partially paid by the island, some of them are, isn't their first responsibility to the island?
Yeah,
So then we need to write a code so that the people who are supposed to represent the interest of the island can't get around that?
Right.
That's perverse.
right. Then it needs to be written that way, so that can, because everybody's only here for what, 20, 30 years, they're dead, they're gone, and it's resold, and we're stuck with whatever was they built.
This
Inside
particular
the
one
thing.
is an annuity.
Yeah, well, whatever, but
Every 2
It
years.
needs to be clarified so that it, you know,
Yeah. It-
you can't put garbage cans and park cars that way.
we can deny the permit based on the 133F3.
Oh.
Yes.
And that's what
Okay.
four of us did,
Yes.
and we accept your
Yeah, well,
objection to
I
it.
mean, I just think that if it's something in the 75 to 100, if it's a permit that can be obtained, if there's no alternative, then that should be something.
Well, the
that's considered.
alternative is not to have a pool.
Exactly.
Say that, you know,
Exactly. That
That's
everybody-
the alternative.
Right.
If it
Yeah,
doesn't
the-
have enough room, you can't build.
You
You
can't,
can keep your house.
right.
That's what grandfathered means.
Right,
You can
Yes.
keep your house. We're not forcing you to rip it down because the code changed.
right,
But you can't take that and then take the other four fingers.
right.
It's
That's
just-
my read of.
Well, that makes sense.
The illegal
But the
principle
code-
would be-
Unfortunately, the code isn't written that way yet,
But it,
Well, or
but it
it's not
is.
interpreted that way.
right?
Because the people who are interpreting, they are going the other direction. They're trying to max it out.
So it's got to be clarified one way or the other.
We clarify it here now. That's the way we feel about it, that's all. I mean, that's
Well,
what
the
we're
town
here
board
for.
can clarify.
Right.
You can rewrite
You
it,
guys are
make
going to
it,
be busy.
make it watertight.
I don't think,
It's a mess.
Do you understand it? It doesn't make any sense because you can argue it both ways, and if you get a good lawyer, you can win.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
So you got to make it so that it's,
That's the problem.
You know.
We need to fix that problem.
right.
And we're gonna be working.
Same with the docks, same with a lot of things,
Right at the top of the list.
right?
Good.
But what we can do in the meantime is do the right thing. I mean, the intention is pretty clear. The code and the writing might be jumbled, but the intention is 100 feet.
it clearly,
Well, yeah,
clearly. It's-
well, it is with the town, the DEC 75.
Yeah,
But that's-
So this is our little spot to regulate, and we're doing a half-assed job of it. So that's all.
But we can do the right thing here and see if we
Right.
fix the code.
Yeah,
And that is, feet.
That's
And
why
in
we're on this.
project,
Yes.
It doesn't even meet the 75 feet.
right.
Right.
6 inches, but 6 inches is 6 inches. And there's
Well-
probably no reason for that.
It doesn't meet the 75 by, what is it, 9 feet? 9 feet.
Oh, for the,
Yeah, where was that whole?
Excavation.
Some parts is 66 feet, 65 feet from
The
the.
code says 129 says no excavation in the 75 foot. And certainly is excavation underneath that porch.
Yeah,
And the code says no excavation.
because you have violations in two areas of the code. correct?
So
Yeah, well, yes,
You're done.
but it's a hard thing to say, because let's say the owner never sold the house, and he said, I'd like to have a pool. He's been here 40, 50 years, and I don't know. It's a hard thing, but I agree it should not be within 100, 133. And I've been told by people that that should be the zoning Board of Appeals should turn that down like they do the setbacks, because it's in their section of the code, 133 zoning. But they've denied, they said, we don't want to handle the wetlands. And, well,
Howard, you might want to go back and modify your vote to include Pam's comments. I don't know if you want to do that or not.
Absolutely, they were really pertinent, and I think
well,
that,
I can add to that, that's no problem, and I think probably we should. because
absolutely.
I was, I'll add, let's get my glasses so I could see. Item 5, which should be up higher, but is no construction in the 100-foot indicated by code 133. Or was it F3? I think it is.
F3, yes.
133-F3. So we'll add that to the comment, see what comes back with it. Because that's a comment to everybody. The building department, the zoning board, the planning board, so everybody gets that comment. All right? Okay,
Thank you.
now, let's get to the easier part. Easier, I'm saying easier, I don't know. Invasive plant and recommended plant list, that's being done by Dan, who's not with us tonight, but he's working carefully with Green Options Committee and Tim and everybody. So they're going to come out with a good product soon. It's just that they're working on it. Roxanne is getting ready this article for publication based on what she's submitted to the town and everything. I think we're all set for that.
I think so, yes. And Jim, last time around was recommending a rotation, which I thought was actually pretty good. And I was talking to Ben and Al about that right before the meeting, actually. So I think what I'd like to do is just try to get just a little more clarity on a holistic educational plan, perhaps in consult with some other folks, so we can get a couple of articles, certainly. But what is implied in what Tim had said, and I agree with, is we just need a kind of a multifaceted way of getting this information out to the community. So the idea of speaking, of course, green options, but I think we all know that green options, fabulous as it is not incredibly well attended. And I don't know if that's because of the timing of it, when it's hot, the end of the summer, and people are doing other things, but it's not as though, I personally don't believe that an environmental message is getting out to everyone on this island through that particular forum, though it is very good. So I think we need to think about this a little bit more deeply. And I was going to try to rough a few things out in terms of a recommendation.
We can do that for the next meeting.
I'll do that for the
And
next
then
meeting.
we still have time to get it in for the spring crowd, so
Yeah.
that they can get in.
We
there.
do.
So.
And probably the most important thing that we do get out is the invasive plant list, because people are going to come and they're going to start immediately doing something along the lines of planting. So
we
planting and
have one already
pesticides.
in the CAC, it just has to be modified and clarified, because the invasives are moving north with global warming and everything, the water.
Yeah.
It's not so invasive. They're invasive, but they're here.
And didn't we say that we wanted to get not only the, a clarified new list,
Yes.
but also perhaps to communicate with people on the island who are going to sell things to make sure that they're not selling the invasives, or to at least ask that they
Right, we're working with,
diminish that. It
there's,
takes time to do that.
there's committees being formed all over. We're talking about pesticides and everything like that, that the trucks be marked that they meet the town code, and there's a phone number so you can complain. If you see somebody say, well, what are you doing there? You know,
Mhm.
it's just like on this 2 Bay Avenue, I called Echo and Reach, got no answer. I left a message. What good is a phone number on the contractor's sign if he's not going to respond to it?
Right.
So that was one of my, I talked to James about it, and he naturally says, oh, that's Peter. Yeah, pass the buck. But okay, no, it's a
Okay.
good thing. So we'll work
Yeah.
on that. Pesticides, like I said, we're working with other committees on what we can do. Walter Richards involved, does a lot of that. It's very good committee. We're working on that.
Could I ask a question about the pesticides? So what are we hoping to, the end product of that work will be what?
It will be how we can regulate the spraying of pesticides, that not
Okay.
the individual homeowner does it, that it has to be done by authorized people, by the county and everything. like that.
Okay.
So
That's great.
trying to do that.
That's important, isn't it? Yeah, thanks.
The next item was for Ben to say if he has anything to say. You don't have to say anything.
He does. You have a report, right? Come on, Ben.
Anything to say except, thing our new supervisor wanted to do was to restructure the liaison system. Instead of having 2 board liaisons for every committee, we now have 1 primary liaison and an alternate.
Okay.
So I'm the primary on this committee, Albert is an alternate, we're both here tonight.
Appreciated.
Yes.
Anytime you both want to join, it's welcome.
Yeah.
It's just a little more efficient and, light's low for everybody. That's all I really have to say. This is my first meeting with you guys. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hope I can be helpful and constructive. And we'll take it one step at a time. Thank you.
We appreciate you being here, and I'm happy and congratulate you and Albert on being elected to it.
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What happens with the committee's decisions here?
Our decision gets typed up, and our report goes to the planning.
It does go to the planning board?
They get a shortened version of it, just the items which I'm going to give Christina to type up what I wrote here and what she can understand, so that they have that for their hearing.
Is that discussed by the planning board, do you know?
Most of it is not, because it's not 129. A lot of the items that we discuss are 33, other things like that. The planning board has said,
129 is,
we only want to discuss 129. And I think there's a misread in 133 with 100 foot. Now, I don't know where they get, that's their interpretation, but I was very proud of that 133 coming out on the near shore overlay peninsula, only, I think, 6 years after the last comprehensive plan. So I think that might have influenced that coming out at that time, comprehensive plan, which was the last one that we're following until we get this new one, which is a big job. So I think we should follow that.
Just so you know, I'm the primary liaison on the planning board, and Meg Larson is the secondary.
Okay,
She
good.
is on the phone.
Yes, yes, she is. Right, she's right there, Margaret Larson, down below, right?
Meg,
Yes.
how you doing? She's just probably listening, that's all. She doesn't want to,
She's doing something else, yeah. She's
her
in the
father
kitchen
said, stay
having-
out of here. So you take.
Right.
The ladies of the Watson family always do a very good job, and I appreciate everything they're doing for our septic systems, but it's going to take us 10 or 12 years to get it. I mean, the county is 3 years delay. It's unbelievable.
Well, at least they have money now. That helps.
Well, I hope so.
But importantly, when Al asked the question, what happens if we do, if the recommendations go to the planning board? Yeah, but we don't know what they do with them. So that's not, I mean, the loop is
Well-
not, do they come back to you?
Not usually. There should be a response why they didn't reply to our.
We should know that. I mean, it
They
is.
can say
we've
it
asked
doesn't
about it.
apply, they can say whatever they want, but there should be an answer to our request.
And also, I think if we're making recommendations, and if there is a consistent reason why some of them are not being accepted, we ought to know that, or there ought to be some discussion. So it is, I think it's an important gap, and I'm glad you asked about it. And if we could shore that up somehow, I think it would be a great idea.
Well, we're all invited to their hearing,
Yeah.
and we can speak up then. Again,
But we're doing all this, and we're writing it up, and we're sending it over there, so that,
2 weeks ahead of time. We're
Right,
giving them
right.
plenty of time, and they could reply to our thing, and just say, we're not going to take your recommendations unless it's 129. And we do a lot more than 129. We do, excavation, we do 133, we do a lot more.
Yeah, it's all-
And
yeah.
nobody is covering it. The town board used to cover it because we would
Yes.
give them, and they would listen to the
Right.
whole thing and pass. And they decided to try this new method and see if it works.
and,
I
and
don't personally.
and what Jim Colligan had told us is that, yeah, the change was going to happen for, was it 8 months?
6 months.
6 months, okay. So it was a temporary change, and then theoretically, it was going to be evaluated to say, is this a better way of doing business? Or should it go directly to the town board? And so I don't know if anybody's looking at that, but that's the way it was presented to us.
Well,
Oh, it's being looked at.
yeah,
Okay,
especially since the supervisor was
okay.
the one who rejected it the first
Oh, okay,
time. So
okay,
it's good that we have her there.
yeah, okay, yes.
Tune in to tomorrow's meeting.
Yes, tomorrow's meeting, we will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we're
Um,
good.
The nature preserve visits, everybody should be going on them in the winter when it's a little bit warmer, maybe in March before the ticks come out heavy and walk them. If anybody wants to go with me, they can, just give me a call, or when you're going, you want to go,
Yes.
take a walk.
We'd like to
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
We'd love to go with you, yes.
I'll give you a call when I
Okay.
plan to do, I'll look at the weather report and we'll walk Silver Beach.
Yeah.
Just last or the weekend before, we walked down Shell.
Yeah, Silver Beach.
This sort of midpoint, there's significant erosion on both sides. It's getting very, very narrow. Sort of the road, you have a little bit of a buffer, vegetated buffer, and then on the inside, it goes pretty much straight down. And the other side, you can see.
I haven't walked it this fall, but last year when we walked it, it was still in good shape. There's been a lot of damage done this winter.
Yes.
And a lot of done by me and Montclair Colony. I don't know what we're going to do with the septic systems down there because they're all underwater on the water side, and it's just draining into the bay.
Where's that?
Down in the end of the west side of Montclair, those end houses down there, they just get covered with water.
Oh, do they?
Flood and septic,
Yeah.
so I guess you gotta raise it up, I don't, build a mound up. They've actually put a cistern in because they can't get any.
Oh, you're talking about way down by the point. there.
Yeah, before
Yeah, yeah,
the tooth doctors,
right.
tooth fairy.
Right,
That's
right.
what we used to call it. But, yeah, it's a bad area, but people have to start considering that, that
Hey,
the coast is, I've noticed my house, the land is sediment, it's subsiding, it's going out.
Really?
And the water's coming up. The two are gonna meet 20, 30 years, or maybe 40 years, but it's just something to consider. Now, the big thing is meeting dates. Okay? We handed this out, basically the change, without going through, we're all gonna miss 1 or 2 meetings, whatever, that's all acceptable, and if we can't be here, we maybe can Zoom it. But basically, the change is to Tuesdays to accommodate the change in the town board meetings to Mondays. So that's why we're really doing this.
Tuesday for,
Amber asked me to bring it up to the committee, and I think it's a good idea. I think we can do that.
Yeah, sure.
What, Tuesday morning?
No.
Tuesday at 7.
Tuesday in the evening instead of Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
Generally, we were Mondays, and now it's changed to Tuesday because
Earn money.
the town board's switching to a Monday from a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that? So that's where basically, so I don't see any problem. Anybody else? I mean, there's always going to be a meeting in.
That's fine.
7:30?
7 in the winter, 7:30 in the summer.
Starting at April, we have
Yeah.
7:30.
Right.
So it looks like it's, yeah,
Would
just
you rather
two
keep
more.
it at 7?
No.
Okay. I mean, we've always had it this way. Some, in the winter, try to get it 7 o'clock because in the summer, people are out more, staying out, so we keep it at 7:30 unless
Oh.
the committee.
So these new dates are on the Tuesdays?
Right, I had.
Basically on Tuesdays. Check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, it's the same, yep.
Yeah, there was
The new
some
one's
discrepancy. I'm gonna check it out tonight or
It,
tomorrow.
It's 7, this
The
one.
one Monday on election
And
day.
then starting in
well, here,
April
yeah.
goes back to 7:30.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
it goes through October,
Okay.
then November, December,
Okay,
7.
so this is.
So-
That's accurate, exactly, right.
Motion to close the meeting?
Let's make a motion to close the meeting.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're hungry. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming.